All right, so I'm on my break. I just have a few minutes here, but I recently saw the original Flight of the Phoenix from 1965. And going way back to the early 2000s, I had seen the remake Flight of the Phoenix first. And it's interesting that there's like pros and cons and ways that each movie did it better. The films are, of course, very similar in concept. You have a bunch of people that work in an oil rig in both of them. The plane crashes, and then there's a smarty pants guy who uh, decides or like figures out that they can take from the parts of the plane that weren't damaged in a crash and rebuild basically a second plane that works and then fly out of there. And there's all the obstacles that come with that and the problem solving that comes with that. And in both films, you not only have the elements you have to overcome, but each other. And it's interesting because the differences, the way they took a different approach in each movie. So in the second movie, the remake, it's like all films of the era. It's faster paced, it's more exciting, it's more actiony, but it's more. There's a little bit of paranoia between the people and a little bit of overcoming differences, but you have environmental threats, you have external threats. With the second movie, or I'm sorry, the first movie, um, the drama comes from within, and the fear and concerns are from within. So it came out. The first one comes out in 1965, and you're in the shadow of World War II still. And so it's interesting because the cast is all white guys, except one dude might have been Hispanic. I don't know if he was supposed to be Spanish or Hispanic. He didn't have a big role, but the diversity, if you will, doesn't come from white and black and Hispanic and those things. Of course, it's all white dudes. It comes from French, Scottish, American, English, and the guy who comes up with the idea of how to save them all is German. Dun dun dun. And so there's that whole, can we trust a German guy? You know, whereas if that was an Englishman or a white guy, you wouldn't notice. There's also a British captain in the first one and his sergeant. And initially, you have a very orderly, by the numbers British captain and his loyal sergeant right behind him. But then that's where divisions come from and lack of trust. In the film, there's a doctor who's French. In the first one, you got Ernest Borgnine, James Stewart. Oh, and I'm going to forget his name right now because, again, I'm just in my car at lunch. The old guy from Jurassic Park, the Scottish guy who built the whole thing, he's in that. And while he's a little bit thinning on top, he's still a young man. Richard, it's going to come to me. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to wake up in a cold sweat and be like, that's the guy's name. I can't think of it right now. So the old guy from Jurassic Park is in this as the co-pilot. And what's interesting is, again, the things they changed. So in the remake, you have a more diverse, a racially diverse cast instead of ethnicity and nationality. And you have a female in there, Hottie McHottie Pants. I can't remember her name. But the pilot, the co-pilot, white guy and a black guy, as opposed to before it was an American and a British guy. And then you have a Mexican dude. House is in the remake, whatever his real name is. The actor who plays House. And again, I'm in the middle of my shift. I'm on my last break of the day. Last break. So I don't have the information right in front of me. I apologize. But again, there's two black guys, Hispanic guy, is English dude. One dude's like Muslim, Arab, something, and then there's a female in the cast. So again, you're more racially and ethnically diverse. But what's interesting is that with an all-white dude cast, there's more boundaries you can cross that's not going to upset the audience. So there's more there's more intrigue in the first film from the second film. So again, the co-pilot and in the first movie is a white guy, the guy from Jurassic Park, and then the pilot is James Stewart. And I got to hustle. I got to get back to work here in just a minute. But in the remake, the co-pilot's a black guy. Well, in the woke era, you can't say it's the black guy's fault. In the original, the co-pilot screwed something as an alcoholic, and throughout the movie, he's got a little bit of a stutter from alcoholism, alcohol dementia. He's got a mild case of that or something. He's got a little bit of a stutter when he speaks, or like a stumble more than a stutter. He stumbles over his words a bit because he's an alkie. And then James Stewart, in his book, right after Crash, writes Pilot Error, and then he ultimately confronts the pilot and says, well, maybe if the pilot had checked this, and this before he took off, we wouldn't be here. So there's this, whose fault was it to begin with? Which is interesting. Richard Attenborough? That's not it. Anyway, in the second movie, which I like the change, instead of Smarty Pants glasses wearing German guy, he's English and he's played by and he's one of my favorites. I'm blanking on his name. The guy from Boiler Room. It's gonna come to me. So anyway, in the remake, in both movies, there's a storm. There's a shamal, which is a desert storm. A lot of wind is kicking up the sand, and so they're trying to. They just picked all these people up from an oil rig, and they have a lot of equipment back there, a lot of gear or boxes and crates and just stuff, and they're overloaded, as you tend to do when you're doing supply. So they try to fly over the storm, and then Giovanni Ribisi, bow! Giovanni Ribisi, who's the nerdy guy, he comes up from the back and says, I think you're overloaded, or something. That's more like the first guy, I'm sorry. But he says to Captain Towns, played by Randy Quaid? Dennis Quaid. He goes up to Dennis Quaid, who's the pilot, and says, you're overloaded, you're too heavy to climb over the storm, you should turn back. And then Dennis Quaid is like, I know what I'm doing. Thump chest. And then the storm is too powerful for their plane. They end up crashing. And so it's an interesting Richard Attenborough. It is Richard Attenborough, isn't it? I'm going to look it up tonight. So in the first one, it's co-pilot error. In the second one, it's the pilot's fault. And it's Giovanni Ribisi who points out he's going to crash the plane. In the first one, now I'm forgetting the other guy's name because I have too much shit in my head. Too much knowledge, and it's a cluttered desk of a brain at this point. I can see his face. But anyway, the one guy who's a bit nuts, where they really don't have a guy like that in the second one. He has a little handheld radio that he doesn't tell everybody about, and there's about a 10-minute little side plot of they could use that radio to hear, if a rescue's coming or something, and why didn't he bring that up? And he's a little bit, so it never occurred to him. He's a bit off. The guy from basketball. It'll come to me in 10 minutes. But so there's one more thing like that. Oh, and in the first one, some producer was like, let's put a little monkey in that movie. Everybody likes little monkeys. So Tito has a little monkey as a pet. And then it's like, you're running out of food and water. In the first one, you just have dried beets and a little bit of water to live off of. That monkey would get eaten so fast. And the monkey's at the end of the film. It's like, no, he wouldn't. And then later on, and it's a bit survivalist, in the first one, the bad guys that are ultimately after him leave a camel behind, and they can see from afar. They left a camel behind. What's that about? When they go to the camp to look at it, the camel's lame. And Richard Attenborough's like, because the camel's lame. And so he pulls out the pistol, and he's like, bam, 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 and he kills the camel. And then they walk away, and I'm like, That's an excellent food source you could desperately use. Cook up the dead camel and eat it. Don't just leave it there. And I could go on, but I gotta go back to my shift. But it is, if you ever watch Flight of the Phoenix, I don't know, maybe it's better or worse if you watch them in the order they were made, but it is interesting to watch them both because of the little things that they omitted when they made the remake and what's different and what's the same. It's a same basic premise. There's a plane crash in the desert. They have to build a second plane out of the first one to get out of there. But the little different things that they changed is kind of interesting. I'll do another longer review on this a bit, but I got to go back to work. You kids have a nice day. Work from my YouTube video, so I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.